This week's episode of Storytime with Legendary Jerry is Myths.
The one and only. The one and only. Look,
Said, hey, I'm all happy shit. I can't even get it out.
You're tongue-tied already.
Mr. Matthew Knowles. What's up, good brother? How are you?
Yeah, it's so good. You know, I didn't know Jerry, and then I see Jerry, and I've seen this brother for years. In the music industry, in the Sony building especially.
Yes.
And I'm sure we're going to talk about that.
Yes. When CeCe McClendon, I worked a lot of projects, and I remember, like we said, I remember coming in, because you, per se, you wasn't the president of Sony or Columbia, but you had a lot of juice.
Well,
you had a lot of juice.
I had that big ass office on the 24th floor. People actually thought that I worked there. I never forget. It was a label lunch. I used to actually conduct the label lunches because I had Life Jennings and all the girls and ladies and Destiny's Child and Tiffany Evans and a couple of more artists I had. And so I yelled at my video promotions person. I mean, I went off. I go off.
Not you.
You gave me some.
Not you.
You gave me some bullshit in the label lunch. Afterwards, I got a call from the president of Columbia like 2 or 3 days later. He says, human resources, that's a complaint. I was like, what the fuck you talking about? I don't work here.
Yeah, I don't answer to y'all.
Yeah. So I had great times at Columbia. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. So, but let me say this from and I mentioned this in the opening, from a father standpoint. I look at individuals like yourself and Richard Williams, Venus and Serena Daddy, and I personally feel that you all aren't given enough props or accolades as to the things that you help create for your family, and how you whether it was you, your ex-wife, or whoever, building a legacy, man. What came out of the household, like I say, Richard Williams with Venus and Serena, yourself with your daughters, and I appreciate it because I think the individual, y'all don't get enough props. Like y'all don't get a lot of. I mean, I look at both of your daughters, and for them, as conscious as they are, man. Like I think, and Solange, I think she's so underrated in a lot of ways, like musically and everything. I mean, when you got a bigger sister that's as big per se as her sister, but just from a conscious standpoint, to see both of them, I know that's got to make you proud as a father.
Well, it makes you very proud. Is he gonna introduce you, Jamie?
I did. Don't try to. Mr. Knowles, don't try to start no shit on there. You see how you didn't hear me say earlier? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Legendary Jerry. This is my co-host, the beautiful Mr. You see,
So you about to mess it up too.
The beautiful Miss Jamie Page.
Thank you.
You see that? But he looking out for you.
Yeah. But no, I am proud. And there's other fathers. Michael Jordan's dad. Played a very pivotal role in his basketball career. This kid didn't make the 10th grade basketball team.
Yeah.
The greatest player of all, but his daddy worked with him. And then the golfer, Tiger Woods.
Eldridge Woods Sr. Exactly.
Played a critical role in his golf game. Was with him, 4 or 5 years old is when he started. And by the way, all of these people that are great started when they were kids. You can't be the very best at this and decide at 25 you want to be in the music industry. Nothing turns me off because I know that's not going to happen. You can be good at it, but you can't compete with someone who's done it over 10,000 times.
You damn right.
And by the way, Outliers is one of the books
my favorite books.
I love.
One of my favorite
by
books.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yep. He's got a few Malcolm Gladwell.
Canadian brothers, and he talk about, you got to do stuff 10,000 times to be an expert and be great at it. You can be good at something, but I'm not interested in goodness. I'm interested in greatness.
Speaking of 10,000 times, at what point did you mentioned before, once again I'll say, because we had a great conversation off camera, so I'm going to bring in some things we said. From you being an executive and going to flight school, or pilot school I should say, at what point did you say, okay, when I got a talented daughter, we talking about going into the music industry, when did you say, all right, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice everything I got, everything, and I'm gonna bet the house on this, and we gonna put this thing together, and we go mash.
Literally, I did bet the house. Seriously, But you know, you made me think, Jerry. I took like I think 3 flight lessons. I couldn't afford it back then. It was very expensive. But you know, Beyonce and Solange, this was their passion. I think parents, our role is to understand our kids at an early age. What is it that you love doing? And then as parents, we surround them with all the tools that they need. So I used to say, if Beyonce and Solange wanted to be doctors, I have this entrepreneurial spirit. So I would have said, okay, go get your license, become a doctor, go to med school, and I will buy a hospital.
Wow.
Which is the same thing I said to my former wife.
That's the ultimate
She was a house, wife.
sacrifice.
And then I said, what are you passionate about? And she said, I like to do hair and creative, styling. I said, okay, go to school and we'll open a hair salon. Because I'm an entrepreneur.
And that's what y'all did.
And that's what we did. The first $1 million that we made was 1984. Now, for those of you that think
so you been
that
had
we have to
depend on
we have to depend on Beyonce. I think she was 3 years old.
Yeah, whatever it was, she was a baby.
Yeah, but
yeah, and that's what, and that tends to be what people think. Like, oh, it took for Mr. Knowles to make that Beyonce money. But you talking about 1984? You been was making paper.
Well, and you got to remember, I was 3 out of 4 years, and I say this with gratitude. I was 3 out of 4 years the #1 sales rep in the whole world in the medical division of Xerox. We made our first $1 million in '84. I made my first 100,000 in 1979.
And that was off the sales,
Yeah.
off medical sales.
Yeah, I was a
So
sales.
like you said, you've always had that entrepreneur hustler spirit. We're gonna make it go. So it just really just helped water that whole passion that you had then when you was like, okay, I see talent.
Yeah.
I see a talent.
Well, you talked about Solange, and she is very.
She's very underrated.
Well,
She's very dope.
This is what really bothers me. So if you took Beyonce out of the equation, Solange would represent the top 5% of all folks in music as artists. Take Beyonce out and set her aside, just like you set Michael Jackson aside.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's just look at the music industry.
Hmm.
Because you got to remember, out of the 37,000 albums that major record labels put out, 1% make a profit. That's 370.
Right.
And that's why, when people want to have, people don't realize this is my 10th year as a professor. I'm a professor. I teach
it's
Texas Southern. I teach this. I went back and got my MBA and my PhD.
So should I call you Dr. Knowles?
Well, I have a PhD.
Okay, so
in academia,
good doctor.
I am Dr. Knowles.
Yes. Congratulations, bro. I know you say you've had it for 10 years, but congrats.
No, I just got my PhD about 5 years.
And it's named after you though as well, isn't it? Called the Matthew Knowles Institute, or is what?
Well, I have an institute that's
Okay,
called
so
the Matthew Knowles Institute at Texas Southern, and then
Okay.
we have the Knowles Institute. So
And what is the whole premise behind the Matthew Knowles?
it's online e-learning. I believe the same thing that happened to us in music will happen to us in education. As this digital world, you remember this when the CD,
when physical
cassette,
sales,
the
physical
cassette
sales.
went to the CD, and then we came with this thing. We're
The
going to do the
streaming.
dual CD, remember? And we thought that was going to keep people from some piracy, and somebody took a magic marker and bypassed all of that. And then when we were warned about streaming, we put our noses up and said that'll never happen. When Apple came, we put our noses up and said nobody will ever buy a single, but people start buying singles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what will happen to education. People will start buying singles and they'll start streaming.
I want to say I dedicate this show to 2 people. My brother, my friend, Mr. Shakir Stewart, and my father, passed in 2016. I miss you, Dad, Mr. Thomas Clark. We are signing off on the Legendary Jerry podcast. That's our social media handles. Miss Jamie Page.
Page on Instagram.
And on IG, everything, I'm Big Jerry Clark. And please tune in, tune in every Wednesday to the Legendary Jerry podcast. But go on YouTube, subscribe, become a subscriber.
Don't miss a beat.
And this gentleman right here is, as you see, we're gonna sign off, but it's one of my favorite guys ever. As a black father, I look up to this guy straight up. I'm not saying, but Do your research and see what this guy really means on the whole.
Google
All right,
can be your best friend.
everything.
Well, you know, I call it Professor Google because you can find all the answers.
Anything.
You don't even have to spell it correct.
There you go.
Jamie Page, Dr. Matthew Knowles, Big Jerry Clark. We are signing off.